William Saulami, a civil society activist. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
And also in the studio with me, Melvin Tijan Mansaye, journalist. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, viewers and followers.
Well, viewers, be reminded that Weekend Review comes up every Saturday at 9 to 10 a.m. in the morning. And the show is also being linked on our Facebook page, AYV Salon, where you can be part of by sending in your views, comments, and also contribution. We go for our very first story. Following the visa re-registration policy invoked on some Sierra Leonean officials by the U.S. government, the Press Secretary Office of the President at State House, Solomon Jamiu, has said that the travel restriction does not reflect the admissible accounts on ground. He pointed out that the June 24 elections was the most peaceful in post-war Sierra Leone, adding that it was validated by many regional and international bodies, while emphasizing that the outcome was legitimate. Our reporter Salifu Chenokama has more on the story.
The U.S. Secretary of State, Antony J. Blinken, in a press statement dated 31st August 2023, announced visa restrictions to specific unnamed individuals who allegedly contributed to undermining democracy, rigging of electoral process, and more in Sierra Leone's June 2023 elections. But how does the government of Sierra Leone view the action? Solomon Jamiu is the press secretary, Office of the President at State House.
We believe that having a travel restriction at this point doesn't quite situate within what we consider to be the justifiable narrative. This is the most peaceful election we've had in post-conflict Sierra Leone. This is the election that was validated by the Commonwealth, validated by African Union, validated by ECOWAS, and we have other players as well. We are very clear on the legitimacy emanating from the elections. We're very clear about the fact that President Julius Maada Bio is the popular choice of the people. We're very clear on the fact that his legitimacy has not been questioned as the laws provide for. He was duly elected and pronounced by Section 42, subsection 3 of the Constitution, by Section 54 of the Public Elections Act. If anyone had any issue with the legitimacy or otherwise, then the laws provide for some kind of a petition to be filed in the Supreme Court. No such recourses took place. Maybe this decision doesn't quite depict the efforts that we have made as a people. But as I said, we have to accept it as a sovereign decision, and we should be able to engage with the United States government. It's a diplomatic and bilateral relationship that we cherish. They are a major development partner. They have been supporting Sierra Leone in a wide range of programs.
He further said that the government made significant strides in upholding democracy and human rights by repealing the seditious libel law, death penalty, adoption of the gender empowerment bill, fight against corruption, among others. But it seems like the action came as a surprise.
We don't quite know what the scope is. We don't quite know who those individuals are, and we don't know across what spectrum. Is it government? Is it civil society? Is it opposition? We don't quite know. But once you say travel restriction on Sierra Leone, as a government, we are concerned. This is not the kind of development we would savour as a government and as a people. But be that as it may, we consider this to be the sovereign prerogative of the government of the United States. And all we can do now at this point is to engage diplomatically and otherwise and ensure that this decision is revised at the earliest opportunity.
Is this proclamation in a way compromising the long-standing relationship between Sierra Leone and the United States?
In the chain of relationships, the United States government would always stand out as a major bilateral and development partner. So that's something that would always jealously guard. So we don't want to view this decision and start overstretching beyond its justifiable parameters. We believe that this is a power exercised within their Immigration and Nationality Act. We are not confrontational with it. It's a sovereign government that has taken a sovereign decision. We just believe as a government that we have done so much, to consolidate our democratic dividends. We've done so much to nurture peace. We've done so much even for the just concluded June 24 elections, the most peaceful in Sierra Leone's post-conflict history.
the public affairs officer at the U.S. Embassy in Freetown. Sarah Van Horn, in a virtual press conference, clarified that there are U.S. visa restriction waivers for certain events in the United States of America, and that the UN General Assembly this month might be one of the exceptions. She encouraged the media to counter misinformation and disinformation in reporting on the visa policy restrictions. Salifu Chorno-Kamara, AYV News.
Well, thank you very much, Salifu, for putting together that story. Well, gentlemen, you've heard from the story there. We saw the release from the U.S. States of Department during the week. A certain visa policy on certain individuals that are yet to be named, who they believe contributed to undermining democracy in the country. Almost 2 months after the June 24 elections, and we are still having controversies over the election. And we've started seeing some of these actions by our international partner. I'll start with you, Saul. I mean, what does this mean for us as a country? And
Well, it's really serious. It's really serious because there is no way an African country cannot relate with the United States of America. You know, so giving traveling ban to some Sierra Leoneans, I think is something very serious that the government also should take very serious. And I'm very, very happy that Solomon Jamiru is actually saying that there is going to be an engagement with the government of the United States. There's going to be a diplomatic engagement, which is very, very key for me, instead of maybe revenging that America has done this and we ourselves as a country, as a nation, we are going to do A, B, and C. No, this issue now is an issue of engaging diplomatically to see how best they can lead this issue to rest. Because for now, all of us, we are just baffled. We don't know exactly whether it's coming from the ban is coming from civil society, the journalists, the politicians, and all of that. We have not seen the names of those people that have been banned. So it's so baffled, it's so worrisome, you know. So by and large, I think it's also necessary for the United States to actually engage our government that these are the people who have been banned not to have visa to our country because of A, B, and C, but just, I mean, getting it quiet under the carpet and just saying that we have a traveling ban. A lot of people will be worried. People will not be maybe have the zeal to go and apply for a visa, you know, for America. So I think that one is also very key for them to actually come out clear that these are the people that were imposing traveling ban on. And I like the decision, or the suggestion Solomon Jamiru is actually making, that there is need for, I mean, diplomatic engagement. That one is key for me.
okay, now looking at the effects this might have on the country, Melvin, let's look at what implication this will have on our country in terms of development and also the bilateral relations between the United States and also Sierra Leone.
Development-wise, well, of course, the context has been the conversation between nationalization and globalization, wherein some schools of thought hold the view that, oh, Sierra Leone is for Sierra Leoneans, and it takes Sierra Leoneans to develop Sierra Leone. And from the globalist thoughts or points of view, they feel that, well, no one country is an island and they cannot make it alone. Against these two ideological differences, such is situated the context in which we are talking from. You ask about what's the bilateral impact. It means a need for re-engagement. It needs a need for a review of situational past, and it needs frankness and sincerity in doing or don't. So the government, based on what Mr. Jamiru has said, is willing to do the needful by engaging, which is provided for, as the reporter clearly captured. I was part of yesterday's U.S. Embassy's virtual press conference, in which I was the one that first asked the question on what happens to those invitees of hunger. And first on the platform, it was clear that there are waivers or exemptions. And yesterday it was abundantly made clear that, yes, even if those persons are banned, but for that occasion, they might get waivers. What does this mean for governance? It means restriction on the movement. Mind you, this government prided itself in rebranding the image of Sierra Leone. And the other day, we saw how we were all happy with that of being eligible for the MCC Compact. So from a financial and economic standpoint, it means what should have been received and diverted into energy and another sector. There are two sectors. Energy, I think it's water.
Yeah.
It's going to be delayed. So yes, the US is saying we are targeting individuals, but on the contrary note, and I think of a double standard note, the ordinary Sierra Leonean is going to be impacted.
And talking about double standard roads, we saw a week or so ago, the U.S. ambassador acknowledging the legitimacy of the presidency as being the president of Sierra Leone. But yet still, we are seeing they having concerns over the process leading to the elections.
The issue in Sierra Leone is not about the legitimacy of the government. It's about it's not about the legal legitimacy, as pointed out by Mr. Jamiu himself. And I've always opined it's a matter of moral legitimacy. And who is the causer here? ECSL. By law, they are not bound to give a breakdown as they have argued. But morally, if someone sits an exam, that person must know how comes he or she passed or failed. And that's what the opposition and even now the West are calling for. Mind you, when we use the international community, we are talking about the global North, the West, Brussels and Washington. They are traditional partners, as underscored by the very sensible Mr. Jamiu. I think he struck the right notes in terms of tone, but what he was very ambiguous over, and I think that's the critical point I would like to embellish here, is he said the government has done so much with the most peaceful elections. I don't think if the government has done so much, we would have been here. So for me, that was a downplaying of the situation, though diplomatically. However, with regards to is acknowledge the fact that it's the right of America to allow you to enter America or not, such as it's the right of Sierra Leone to allow whosoever that wants to come in or not. So that's a sovereignty decision. However, I think what is scary here, and I agree with Mr. Sau, is the fact that the policy itself, this visa policy is something that is entrenched in confidentiality. Per se, it's secret. So we'll not be able to tell, only to make conjectures, speculations as names are now coming up. So it's scary. That in itself has got the tendency to paralyze the effectiveness of governance. There is no way you can tell me that if, for example, you place Minister 1 on a travel ban, it's not going to affect Sierra Leoneans. Because they have conferences to attend, they have meetings, they have engagements, they have... This government is famous to the point of being infamous for having a penchant for traveling. So stripping them of that privilege means psychologically a lot, but economically a lot. Well, someone would say to the benefit of us, but the greater picture here is you cannot sympathize with countries like the minister said. It's a giant player, the United States. And once the United States is coming out to say something, soon you will see the European Union follow suit. And others. So this means a lot for even the luring in of investors. This means a lot for their budgetary assistance. If this continues, we might have a situation wherein people are going to be going to work without receiving pay, or institutions standing without being effective because of the assistance coming as donor aid. It's not forthcoming anymore. So the situation here is the country suffers a lot. Yes, people in the left in the left particularly could be celebrating, but we don't even know if people in the left, meaning APC, are also
part of the restriction
enlisted in the blacklist.
We don't know, so it's serious.
And for me, the good thing I like about this, it's targeting individual, but it's scary because you don't know who are these individuals.
That's the thing.
What if it's your colleague? What if it's your employer or your employee?
The effect also goes to family members.
Sure.
And that is scary if they are not American citizens. But even if they are naturalized, if you look at that chapter in the inadmissibility provision in that immigration policy, it's so widespread, and it does not provide any room for recourse, except if you're an American, then you can challenge it. But if you are not an American, the room for challenge, and again, we say America is the father of democracy, but they're having a system wherein for you even to challenge it is so difficult. Okay. So I will never venture. I have criticized and critiqued lawmakers, including my own very good speaker, for coming out to lash at the West. I did it for a just cause, and today we are seeing it. We cannot lash at them, but we can even question them, because yesterday we posed several questions, and many of them, I must say thanks to the US Embassy. I hope the government on this same issue will employ the same approach. Our officials come and talk. Chief Minister, you are the Master Sabi. You need to come out on this one. But above all, this is above Chief Minister. When President Bio tweets and say on the 1st of September, blah, 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 and blah, for me, his message was not speaking to the actuality. That was an opportunity for him to come out and say, Americans, I accept what you have said or what you have done and we are engaging, or I don't. But he was a bit scared to come out, and it means he is now in a dilemma to accept or not accept. And accepting means having not June the Jallo, but somebody independent to come and chair that committee. Okay. That committee will now have the onus to ask ECSL, because it seems as if the right to access information, their right has been made wrong by virtue of ECSL becoming too overpowerful. The problem we are having so far, ECSL has become too powerful, and unfortunately we've reduced the conversation to APC versus SLPP. Many of us long ago raised the issue of independent auditing of the ECSL, and I think that's what the West is calling for, because they are scared that if Francophone West Africa is now is ruled by military regimes, the tendency of it being escalated to Anglophone West Africa is there. And now the West now knows, oh, we've been creating safe haven for these guys, because when there is revolution in their countries, they will run and come to sit in Washington or New York or in London. So now let's target them, which is good, which will compel APC, SLPP, and all those players now to do the right thing. But generally, it's not good, because the ordinary Sierra Leonean will be suffering. Okay, but before moving to another story, Salamin, how do we get past this stage as a country? We've seen the commitment from presidents in setting up an institution, a body that will look in or review the whole process, the electoral process. So how do we get past this stage?
Well, we are still waiting on them to see how best they can quickly come up, because delay also is very dangerous. Delay in bringing out a report or findings is also very dangerous. So we just hope and pray that as soon as possible they will come out with a report. And also, we're still on the traveling ban issue. Is this ban only on those who are currently residing in Sierra Leone? Because when you talk about the traveling ban that has to do with the elections,
it was clarified yesterday.
Thank you.
They
are people who are out of Sierra Leone.
Yes, they clarified that.
Who have caused a whole lot of mayhem, you know, before, during, and even after the elections. They are still causing problem. So is the traveling ban also going to affect those who are out of Sierra Leone? But they are Sierra Leoneans. People want to ask all of these questions.
They clarified that. Okay. It's unfortunate that they've not been able. They are telling us that by Monday they'll be releasing the video, but they clarified all those issues.
Okay, that's good.
The only exemption if you're an American. Okay. But even if you are naturalized or whatever, they have got so much powers in that provision of inadmissibility that they can revoke, they can remove, they can refuse, they can deport. Okay. So it's a wide array of provisions. But the fact there are exemptions which makes room for waiver. Now comes to what you are asking, what's the way out? Firstly, we must admit that, yes, we are sovereign, but we might have flouted international best practice. We must be honest to ourselves. You know, these people, they might not be producing what they have, but they have information more than even us that are living here, because they have intelligence officers, professionals that are sitting abroad, that are here. You don't see them, you don't hear from them, but they are doing intelligence gathering. So when they are challenging you, they are insistent. It's good that you do your homework well if you want to challenge. And from what Jamil is saying, government is not challenging. For me, I think that should be a respite for this weekend. The government is not sounding challenging.
It's rather engaging.
It's rather sounding that they want to engage. But how they should engage, and that's the role of the media and the civil society. They must bring in the best diplomats. They must bring in the best legal minds. They must, of course, engage with other countries that are having good ties with the US. That is one side. But above all, the elephant is in the room is we must be ready to produce the results. If not, let's admit that there is something wrong with this election and have another bargaining chip. Because at the end of the day, you don't want a situation where maybe in 2028 SLPP wins, and because of people are having this perception, it's 10 years and they are rigged. So I think the West is sending a message that we cannot even wait now until democracy fails for the intervention of Militsky coups. So now we are going to discipline the so-called elected officials who don't want to play by the rules of democracy. America, let me underscore, is not the best example we can cite for democracy. Today, Donald Trump is accusing the Department of Justice of being weaponized. But what is clear between America and Sierra Leone, and I will always challenge my honorable good friend who is in the leadership now of Parliament, Honorable Tsawa, what is different between America and Sierra Leone is that Donald Trump said that Rogan, na Criolla talker. The election commission pull all the data. Different people can check the data and say no rogue no day. 9 different between us alone. APC say they rogue there. ECSL now pull the data and I don't know if APC the lie or not the lie now. Neither the bonus truth. So the difference between Sierra Leone democracy and American democracy, institutions are independent and they do work. That is not to say they cannot be politicized. Politicians in America are the same like politicians in Sierra Leone. The difference between us is that they have strong institutions that are independent, irrespective of who appoints who. They are always idealistic in what they do. So that's the difference. We cannot compare the democracy in America to the democracy in Sierra Leone, a part of development.
All right, let's move over to another story. Some citizens within Freetown have expressed concerns over health risks of exchanging helmets with different people, stating that disease can easily transferred, while also noting huge constraints over the ban on bikes in the CBDs. However, Minister of Internal Affairs, retired David Taluva, says the enforcement of the law is for the protection of people, while noting that anyone who will not want to adhere to the law should not board a bike. This is coming after a press release from the Sierra Leone police on warning of helmets by bike riders and pylons effective September 1st and the ban of bikes in the CBDs. Samuel Sunetoya has more on the story.
Wearing of helmet for both riders and their passengers is not a new phenomenon. For many years until 2016, it was the custom of bike riding in Sierra Leone before Ebola struck. The need for the control of the risk of spreading the virus led to ban of helmet for passengers. Police say there is no more Ebola and riders and their passengers must use helmet. However, some citizens within Freetown have reacted differently to this, pointing out concerns over health implications on the use of helmet.
The helmets they are talking about will be very difficult for the people because some of us do not use the helmet due to other people's sweat and bad odor that will lead to after effects.
So what sickness they different kind of way na through this sweat, like hepatitis na one way me know.
Different types of sickness all over, like hepatitis is one of them I know that we get through sweating. So after being used by another passenger, bike riders will give you the same helmet and the smell of it is inconvenient.
I want the helmet to be used again, even though I know there are diseases, but the men should be using a cap and the women should tie up their heads.
If my head tie, they go tire.
While some of the citizens are concerned about health risk on helmet use, garage owners and some residents who dwell at hilltop areas also shared their own concerns.
We are staying up the hills where vehicles do not go. So if they remove the bikes here, it will affect us that we can be late for work.
It will affect you greatly.
Affect us greatly. Maybe we want to run some urgent errands and the taxis only move when they are full. So if the bike riders are here, we will be able to use them to do urgent business.
At times we stand for a long time waiting to onboard on vehicles, but if you see a bike around, it will go with you there quickly.
If they stop the bike riders here, it will be very difficult for us because we are not able to walk up the hills. The old people on board bikes too. The young ones will manage to do that, but old men and women will not be able to walk.
The person is in the area for long. We know say this streets not for but we walk around in this country. We said. But we still say about the if they say guess I will they go put it. If the devil are still not go bad for we.
For everything I want to say, most of we where we dey work here.
What I want to say is that most of us are working here for a living, and we have families. We are also aware the street belongs to the government, but I'm only pleading in the name of God for them to help us.
Amidst these growing concerns by some residents within Freetown, Internal Affairs Minister retired David Taluva says they are enforcing the law to protect citizens from accidents.
Anybody with the right bike, for whether not to salon law, na international law, any country it did. We Sierra Leone we enforce them because we let the people, they will not make it, they die, then they get sentenced. If you say you know the lawyer, no go contact under.
Half of the population of Sierra Leone utilize bikes while carrying out their daily businesses. Anything touching on this means of transportation will reflect in the bulk, especially when government's presence is not that much felt in the transport sector to salvage the transport. Samuel Tony Saw, AYV News.
Well, in an interview with the Sierra Leone Police with regards to the enforcement of these measures and regulations, the spokesperson of the Sierra Leone Police, ACP Brian Makeni, has confirmed the smooth start of the operations, which includes the removal of parked vehicles and clearing of streets being used as garage, and noted phasing out of the operation of the use of crash helmets. Let's now join George Powell for more on that story.
After issuing a press release on the 17th August 2023 notifying citizens of the operation, some bike riders and citizens within Freetown had expressed their concerns on the ban of bike riding in the CBD and the health risk of exchanging helmets. But in an interview with the PRO of Bike Riders Union, Mohamed A.T. Nabil, he said that after hearing the concerns from bike riders and their appellants, they engaged with the Sierra Leone Police and other relevant authorities, and these authorities have agreed to address their concerns.
Get a meeting where we don't get an assurance, a confirmation, say this passenger helmet, because of all these reasons where we don't raise up to them, then go suspend and force, make no policeman no arrest bike for helmet, for passenger helmet. So please, the area of Fusa, they say bikes there for come out all over. That one day we don't say no, Papa. They are low with bikes and push bear instead of them come out. If they come out, Fusa they go sit down, and only junction they go able for do their own activities.
The spokesperson for the Sierra Leone Police, ACP Brian Makeni, in an interview responded to this.
Engage them anyway. To be quite honest, we've engaged them. And we've told them what they are supposed to do based on the operations we have. We are phasing out the operations. If you bite too much, it will be difficult for you to swallow. So what we have decided to do is to phase it out. Let's start with the vehicles. We'll start with them, and then we'll come over to them as well, enforcing the aspect of the helmet, the crash helmet. But like I normally say, that one is for their safety. It's all part of what we call the lawyers would say it's legal paternality. We make laws for the safety, for your own safety and for your own, but we're phasing out the operations. We are starting with the drivers, those guys who are drivers, the garage owners, and then we'll come to their own area. But for now, we decided that we must start with the drivers. That's the only solution.
It was also mentioned that the ban on bike riding in the CBD is a continuous operation, and the clearing of vehicles on the roadsides and removal of garages on the street is ongoing.
Then operational areas that we say they say bike not for going at the central business district, then they in a day in law. We not encourage no bike for ply day. That one day we cannot argue that. Then so government also don't accept that, but law will not block the main roads them. We don't draw lines them. We say bike for park. We say bike not for park. Now all we parks them across the country. So that one day also a day in full force. So
CBD has always been restricted. The CBD was not even part of the operations. It has been there. In other words, that operation subsists, and then we didn't cancel it. So we have not rescinded the operations. That operation is still there. The CBD has to be protected, and we still have to ensure that commercial bike riders do not come to the CBD. That one is different.
Police aims to restore sanity on the roads and ensure the safety of road users, and also improve on the free flow of traffic, but has only phased out the crash helmet for a while, which will commence immediately after this ongoing Operation Sanity on the Roads. George Batulo Powell, AYV News, Freetown.
Still on that story, meanwhile, bike riders in Makeni have staged a peaceful strike by sitting home. Key among the reasons for this action is the price hike on fuel. To know more on this, we join our reporter, Jonathan Pangu, who has the detail.
Transport sector plays a significant role to the socio-economic development of a country. And this is as a result of transporting goods and people from one location to another. In Makeni, this crucial sector has been disrupted for certain reasons, as explained by bike riders.
Looking at the area of the fuel again, is very important. So maybe not just look at the two crash elements issue, because according to how we don't understand, we don't get from the central government, say the issue of the two elements, they don't let them to rest and it don't go viral. So they expect them now for come out, but then still say they not they come out because the fuel we don't go up now to global crisis, because they say that they compare another countries them where they feel say fuel they not reach to the way how it is na this country. So if you really tell us in a global crisis, then they take and they agree on that. Then believe say no more na saloya no more fuel don't come up, and na saloya no more, then they get a lot of constraints in terms of all the materials they more than they use for their business. Okay. And government for go all angle for try as a leaders, you know, as a parent body where they man the affairs of the people of this nation. Make them go all out for make sure see all the materials and the fuel where bike they use for do them business, make them make sure they minimize that and put the fuel down.
Some going to their workplaces, and other to their marketplaces to do their normal activities, did trek this morning. Motor drivers are as well affected, as most passengers are transported by motorbikes at various lorry parks in Makeni.
We actually remember them motorcycle strike. Like them, and then it's a good passengers them where they can give like MPR, they affect me very great because of some of us who are business with them. Then every goods there, now buy the dear one. If you back up for 2 or 3 days, that's another.
They affect me bad because of the free. We are to job. Only the Madame to buy and back to business. We get only so if you get here,
in all this, we contacted the Sierra Leone police to know their stance on these developments.
We put out a notice, a public notice, reminding them of their responsibility to maintain order, law and order in the streets. And the aspect of the helmet we've considered, we thought of that, and I think we have compromised in that. Their issue or their problem is not only the idea of having a crash helmet, but they have bikes that are registered. Well, the issue of pump price, the hiking of pump price, is not only Sierra Leone. I know it cuts across the world. We all know.
All right, thanks very much to our reporters for putting together those stories. Now, I'll start with you, Melvin. You've heard from the stories. Firstly, the one that has to do with the concerns from members of the public on the enforcement of the use of helmets being called by the police, that passengers as well as bike riders should be using helmets plying the streets of Freetown. We've seen the concerns, the health concerns being raised by the public. So let's firstly have your take on this. What's your take on this, the enforcement of this law?
I'll quote the fine policeman again, CSP Brian Kamara. If you bite too much, it will be difficult to swallow. And I think this is a good thing to celebrate. That for once, the police that is deemed as they are uncompromising, they cannot be negotiated with, they are meeting a common point or a middle ground that will enforce the rule on pushback instead of removal, will enforce the rule on people who are using the streets now as garage and other purposes, which is not safe. But however, we'll stick to maintaining the CBD restriction, which again is also faulty, because even from the bike riders, you did an item this week wherein some riders are saying people with influence in the forces are being given exemptions to go and use that area. So for me, thanks to the police, they are meeting a common point, but I think there is a bigger issue there. In as much as the police is saying that they are going to give and take, the fact remains that the issue of crash helmets is one of road safety versus personal safety. They are almost interrelated but slightly different, against the backdrop of people complaining that one helmet can be recycled. But again, in a case of road accidents, what are the figures pointing at when it comes to accidents, particularly for commercial or ordinary motorbikes? So it's for the safety, but a fine balance must be kept, because imagine, I was told during one of your reports that the bad day for a rider is 50 passengers. So imagine going to 60, 70 passengers a day, and you concerns about things like hepatitis. So it's good that the police compromise. I hope the politicians will learn from this issue between the police and the bike riders. This is a fine model for how we negotiate difficult situations. Because there's a big elephant in the room, the unstable price of fuel. Now, people in Makeni, the riders in Makeni, unfortunately, are downing or are boycotting, or what can you say, holding a strike for that. Strike. But is that strike reasonable? I beg to differ. Because once the pump price is increased, who feels the pain? The ordinary pillion or passengers. So who are you to come and to come and cry for us? Wait until the passengers say we are tired of it. Again, it goes to this politicking or politicization of issues in this country. Now look at the context, Makeni, and when you look at Makeni and you look at election results and you look at politics, people of Makeni, we are all Sierra Leoneans, but let's not overstretch things. Allow people across other places that are now paying 3 or 4 times to come out. It's your right to come out, but look at the political situation in the country. You bike riders, it's not, if it was the ordinary people of Makeni, I would have supported them, because they are bearing the brunt. If it's the ordinary people of Kono or of Bont or of Moyamba that came out to protest, I would support them. But you are flying us with our own facts. Just in the twinkle of an eye. We know for Freetown. Let's talk about those distant places in the provinces. So please, advise yourselves. And the policeman was very right. They should be law-abiding. Allow the people to vent out their anger. If you charge person not pay, that's gonna create. If you charge person not pay, you know what if I take other one? Also say you be in a Freetown, sir. When they charge you 20-25,000 inside Freetown, when I price the trade we pay from village to village. What you go say? If people in Freetown they're not vexed on that day. Why now they go say? They just instigate the people of Makeni. That's an unjust action. Let the people complain. Don't go and it's unfortunate. These are the things that provokes the peace. And when something is sparked, they say, "Oh, Makeni again." They are, But thankfully, I think the police they are learning along the way. They are not perfect, but looking at the approach they use in Freetown, looking at the general approach they use across the country to give and take, this is what the country needs. Because there are people there who are ready, because of their political vexation, to capitalize on situations to get them to a degenerating situation. We don't want things like unrest. That is not to say the ordinary people are not suffering. But this is Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, when you jump on the streets to protest illegally, we know what can happen. It's unfortunate. And I think the police, they must up their game now on checking those dealers of pumping or gas stations that are deliberately depriving the people.
And one thing, when you look, most bike riders are not in the habit of buying fuel at the petrol stations. So why the police used to buying this Jebu?
So why is the police not going?
It's more expensive than what.
So why is the police not going after the Jebu also? So let them don't limit their scope. I know, yes, they are having capacity problems, but let them not limit their scope to just riders and drivers. Those garage owners, some streets around the municipality of Freetown are almost now garage. Go after them, but at the end of the day, the operation will end. You see these garages still existing. Maybe, so the sustainability,
maybe just for a month or two.
So it goes to the operational willingness of the police itself. I know it bears on capacity, manpower, and all that. But at the end of the day, communities must collaborate. If you see say police don't can clear this street garage, don't allow them to come the day again. That's the essence of community police partnership. We must help them also, because things like removing cars from the streets, these are justifiable things. You know, yes, it's reasonable to have a disagreement on the helmets. It cannot be disagreeable to say people should avoid the CBD. But other issues, I think we need to go around them. So for me, kudos to the police for negotiating this one very well. I hope President Bio and the APC, they must learn an example between the bike riders and the police to end the political turmoil. This is a very good thing to talk about for the coming week. And definitely, yes, engagement bears some positive fruits once it's realistic and frank.
All right, taking over from there, William, we've seen the social media throughout the week when the police made out this release for the implementation of these restrictions, people calling for protest or so. But the stance from the police was very much good. So as a civil society activist, you are mostly interacting with people. So how best can we go past these issues?
Well, I want to start with AYV in the first place. A program like this one should actually be in Creole on a very serious note.
We can still change the language and go to Creole.
Those who we are actually, talking about or discussing, we know some of them they have gone up to WAS level. There are some of them who are actually university students.
I just they remind me, I say they don't use Creole.
That's it. But the bulk of them are people who cannot actually understand what we are saying.
But I get issue with that. We check no bad that children foreign minister we can talk to people like for say we not picking in this country than in a secondary. They are that in Creole business we count. Let's go to parliament, let them count law on the use of other languages.
Right.
Let me be reminded. You don't begin port so you know even 1 month now.
The issue about demonstration or strike or riot. As civil society, there is no way we could say we don't want them. That don't tell you, in fact, I'm not an activist. If I say demonstration up for day, that don't tell you I'm not a civil society activist because it's in our law book. But whatever they do for them within the law, that now not for joke with. Whatever they do, for any right you get a responsibility. You know they say I get rights, they step on other person too with your own rights. You know they work that kind of way. So talking about demonstration. There is a law where they tell you, say, you have a right to the police. And not only for right, but the executive of that team need for meet the Inspector General of Police, una sit down and discuss them. Discuss them thoroughly. Which route you now use, what you now for do, or now for use a placard, which point you now want to up. Because themselves need for the police, they need for be guided. Police need for them there for protect them. You understand? So they need for discuss which organization, which group, who are the leader of that team and all that, we discuss them. If it don't happen at all, we don't play that part, we come back to the media and let we know. Somebody will take them up. You understand? But somebody could just stay in America, in Jericho, in Jamaica, send message on social media, say, tomorrow for demonstrate. I think that one is totally unacceptable. We not agree for that again in this country. We know it exactly happened inside August 10 last year. It just don't pass 1 year. How many police officers will die in demonstration? How many civilians will die, will lost their life? These are breadwinners.
We not even know safe.
These are breadwinners. We're not getting the correct figure. These are breadwinners. These are people sometimes amongst them, government, they don't take taxpayers' money, they don't pay them for scholarship, for their education. These are people who go work, where they get a small salary, they take care of their 2-3 family members. Now they don't go to the beyond. How much compensation government will give them for really filling that gap with that individual they take care of family members? So demonstration to me, it totally day out of context. Don't forget about it. Totally, we don't get a lot of rumors from the past days or weeks that when school they reopen, picking enough for go school. You understand? This one is totally unfortunate for tell picking and make them not go school. At this point in time, we believe say education is very, very key. Picking don't sit down for over a month or so. Now, host they play. Sometimes they begin forget to tell the teacher, don't teach them. Now that school for open next week. People they say no, let people know street for let not go school because they go school we they come for can demonstrate, we go for can destroy property, life go spoil and all of that. We know how for them in that kind of situation again in this country. We know what's in our war because you talk about demonstration or riot because some demonstration can end up for turn to riot at the end of the day. Because if you go demonstrate, we see killing commodity, we see looting of shop, We see people who go do them personal business. We don't get no business by politics, no business by riot. Then that day they don't go do them business. They don't go ride a bike. They don't go open a shop. They don't go buy in a market. They sit on an host just because people say that they demonstrate. You understand? We don't want to see that kind of thing. Now, like a semi-war,
and the major
we don't
problem
see war in
see,
this country.
The major problem we don't see with this is that the misuse of the social media.
Yeah.
You don't see people that don't become so. They don't trust the social media much more than the mainstream media.
You know, the social media now like a blessing where it come. We see a blessing to this nation, not only this nation but across the world, because social media, I mean, you get them faster, you get them cheaper. You know, with pictures and evidence and everything. So quick. Something that happened at Kailan now or Koinadugu. Less than a second. I don't know what happened. You understand? And as a government can plan, just because they don't get that information quick. That's the blessing side of the social media. It's cheaper. It's fast. You know. But we find out, say, people misuse the social media seriously now. More time of politics, where politics they are around, when people are aggrieved and all of that. People they misuse the social media. Even with my men that do business now, people they misuse the social media. Before this time, people they use phone, give them picking a phone for making them look at educational materials inside the phone them for let the picking and go learn. Now you don't even afraid for let picking or touch phone because you go belong to some group. Pass with police inside the group. You go belong to some group. You go see all kind of pictures now where people they misuse the social media. Social media, nothing very good, but when they misuse them, you send hate speech. We don't see people don't send a lot of hate speech. More especially people in the diaspora. When something happen in this country, people they out of right, they feel them. I don't feel them more than they use young people them, where some of them don't actually see and feel the 11 years we been war in this country. Because we will see them, we will feel them, we will kill with parents them, we will kill with sister, rape with mama and papa. We don't want to see anything or something we feel a war. We don't even want to see them. So social media, the use of social media is very good, it's nice, but the misuse of the social media will not become very rampant more with people already overseas. By the American embassy or American government don't pull this issue about travel ban, we only hope and pray that not only Sierra Leone, because what thing happen at Sierra Leone, it happen in Liberia, it happen in Guinea, another part of the world. Make the international, then country where don't go before, where they even bring forward the social media. Make them really move to an extent that people already out of Sierra Leone, where they send war, they send bullet inside saloon for no fat, no kill yourself. You understand? Make them see how best they will also able to deal with them, sanction them. Because we don't want to see war. We don't suffer for too long. Up to this moment, the 11 years where the war still gets a negative impact on we. There are people who be old 10, 12 years old during the war. Now they don't 30 years, they don't 35 years. They don't learn work. They just sit down like today. They don't go to school, better education. So they were all day out now as dropout. These are all people who cause problems and commotions in the community. Then just they now all be an incident at the outskirts of their slum communities. They wait for their politicians say, yeah, small thing, go cause trouble. Then they go back in the street, go cause trouble. So we don't want to go back to that. So people will feel them for use social media in that wrong way for bring this country into chaos. We as activists will not go sit down, look them. And we want to make politicians then play very active role. Though most of this misuse of social media, the politicians are gaining, they are benefiting a lot. Politicians, they benefit a lot of the misuse of the social media. You know, they make a lot of gains. Because somebody will just put this and put this together, center. US, they don't get better understanding. Oh, you said this one, we don't talk not true. Because you are a political leader. If you believe someone tell them today, say this thing are black, and they believe say it's not black. Tomorrow, we tell them back, say these are white. They go believe back. Because you're not a leader. Yeah. So the politicians get a pivotal role for fight the misuse of the social media. When small thing happen, pap, they say that police. What did police for do? Police get mama, police get papa, police get pikin, police get family members. How many times when we civil society don't go to the Inspector General of Police for ask her, what are you budget for the year? For all this police, for police the community. What are you budget? No, they go ask them what are the budget. Then you go not say, they say they face serious constraints. Then they go out in a place. There was a time when they just turned Aberdeen to a division. We know that one vehicle for operation. When something happen, they take OSD, put on top bike. For go meet inside 200 youth a day. 3-4 OSD for go inside. Because at the end of the day, when you get gone, pacifier gone. Now that's the only way for free himself. So now we ask them questions. They are not just the judge, the police. All the police and then they perform, the police and then do anything. Now we ask them questions there. What is their budget? How many gadgets they get? What are the equipment they will get? What are the police post them? Now, as I'm saying, part of the police partnership board, local police partnership board, when my brother just mentioned, say the government really need for use the local policing, the community policing. They are very key. You know, some of the police will stay in a particular division, sometimes within Congo Cross, now all the way grafted in it. They now reside within Congo Cross. It is far. So when something happen overnight, that policeman will go there for call. So you use the community people, the local police in partnership, use them continuously for the engaged bike riders, drivers, union traders, continuously because they are all living within the same community.
I wish we get enough time, but we get few more time for round up the show. Now we just give few minutes to we viewers. They don't send some of them comments in. This one they come up from Mohamed Jallowe say, good morning AYV. In as much as the US government is right in their action as a sovereign country, Sierra Leone is also a sovereign state. We must not forget that when the election issue between President Biden and former President Donald Trump, no country in the world banned any American citizen to talk more of a government diplomat, and yet the Americans are here banning other government diplomats. All right, this one is coming from Mohamed Sise again. There is nothing wrong with the past election, Melvin. The West is confusing us because of bad politics, so it's time to clearly choose our destiny if we are serious as a nation. I still ask why AYV continues to have some of... All right, no. Look at what is happening between Donald Trump. They are busy saying they are using the law of the land against Donald Trump. Had it been done in any other country, they will be the first people to tell you it's suppression of the opposition. Yes, we can survive without America, and America isn't God, my brother. Let's choose our path as a nation. Now look any other on the bike issue, don't discuss. Well, the more of the message and just based on this America issue. But as we try for roundup, we get like a minute for close the show. I'll start with you, Melvin. Which thing will be your closing remarks from all we don't discuss from today?
As I don't go for be tolerant to different opinions. We not go, if all Salomon think the same way or support the same thing, them they say Salon, we need to think. So if somebody they think left, somebody they think right, or the center, waiting out challenge and follow bring all them thinking and they as one and become a reality. Somebody they say it's a Melbourne, US, London, Canada, and other countries use their national. I agree with you if you say so. But any country when they use official and national languages, then get law where they support that. And I'm not there against Creole. I'm fortunate for go St. Edwards and I do Creole in a school. And when they hear me Creole, I talk clean Creole. So it means say first of all get law for make people and they use other languages because you get constitution and stand in other ways say for use of English now must. For example, in a parliament. So if you not go change the law, then you just grab number because you say you want to communicate to the people. Like, we're good, I agree, but you get forget the legal basis rights. Of course, everybody get for speak in mind from different perspectives. So unfortunately, by your name, by your surname, people and they place you. But I think so we get for create that room there. And with regards to the U.S. embassy thing, I think so waiting Mr. Jamil will talk, and I need the government for pursue. And the one way they say Salo we able for do all things for ourselves. Yeah, we go try, but it will take time. And then he say dry dog sweets for eat. Waiting people and will eat, say the dog will dry. And I make for keep a fine balance with relationship with the West and here in Salone. All right. Domestically, the election, the issue now will go away if ECSL we all know what more panel for pool they break down. Other than that, all within the government they do might be legal by the law. But by moral and political consideration, it still get bought. And I think say the message where the West they send, you know, cause confusion in the country, then you want to go to America or England. So now I mean to say people every day and I for think now and solve a problem rather than they continue for make the problem just the worse.
Okay, short one.
Yeah, I think most of the things already discussed today surround around security. Yeah. We're not going to leave the drugs out at all, more especially the kush. We see the police, they do their own bit for ensure say they harass not only the one where they take the kush, but even the one where they sell the kush. I want to say bravo to them. They will not use any harsh way for really deal with them, more especially when they take the kush. But they will rather treat them in that human rights way and able for punish the one who for punish, because kush not good. They get a lot of implications, health implication. They get problem with youth development. They get problem so many ways. So they discourage kush business totally, and they encourage the police and the local police partnership board waiting they do at community level for continue for massage the community for ensure say kush not go down, drugs not go down, but how going for minimize and another thing. Another security threat to get go for with young people all now for this overseas. Some man go overseas, so you don't get a cartel of people where they can open company, where they can open organization, where they tell you say if we count with $1,000, we do everything possible for like go America, and we go there we even create job for you. They depend do people a lot in this. And we know how the government sit down. That kind of organization, the government for monitor them, if possible for ban them, because the level of understanding. Some man will say the country triangle, so now travel go America or England or wherever. It take all the property we get. We don't see a case like that. I don't deal with 2-3 cases of that. Even last week, somebody came to my office can report. Say they don't spend over 10 million euros for in Peking for go to a particular country for go get job. That 10 million euros now hey they tell we go there they tell any serious thing. They only say come back next week. That money need the fashion. One case even a year ago affected I for succeed for let them return the money them about 80 million. So then cartel and they all na security threat na a country. Government for ensure say if people they can do business and in business they're not genuine, make them throw them away. So me family my last one to again. Now law we make sure say we want for demonstrate. Law we go through the proper procedures to the Inspector General Police, engage them and tell them how now for doing a demonstration. Then go allow them for demonstrate. But just jumping into the streets, within demonstrations, they end up to riot. Would the beg allow not go into that because we don't want to see any life lost. Every life in this country is important, it matter. This issue about Kenny matters, Makeni matters, no. Sierra Leone matters. Every Sierra Leonean in life is important. So Lord will try as best as possible. Lord protect, parent them for talk to them, picking them. So man they see picking them going to battle, something happen, they jump in the street. When they say crisis don't happen, accident don't take place, so man they go, so Lord this must come one thing. No, Lord don't take the law into your hands. Lord will do the correct thing so that Mama Salon will go before.
Well, plenty thank you to me. Two guests away now, William Saulami, civil society activist, and also Melvin Tijaman Sarino, and a journalist. Well, Fambul na also we go bring the cutting down party day program. Members, you don't they watch weekend review where they come to you every Saturday from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. And also plenty thank you to the production team we don't put together this program we come to you. And me we bring the program to you. My name is Ronald Jumo. We are suited to meet again next week. Plenty thank you and tata.